So, like I have said before on this show, the migrant workers issue needs attention. And I am very happy that international organizations like the International Labour Organization and also human rights groups are really paying attention and are really calling out the Gulf states on their poor human rights conditions. So there's an article that I want to share with you guys, and before I would let you know my thoughts. But I guess if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you must have known my take on this particular topic. I have said it many times and I will say it again. People deserve better. It doesn't matter if they are foreigners or nationals. Everyone deserves better. And if you cannot do this to a fellow national, do not do it to a foreigner. Because at the end of the day, we are all human beings and we all deserve to be treated fairly. And the fact that people come to your country to work doesn't mean that you get to treat them the way you want. There have to be a fairly way to treat people, be it migrant workers or nationals. And the Gulf nations or states in the Middle East have a very poor policy towards migrant workers, which I personally think it needs to change. Gulf nations have to understand that migrant workers are people, same like their nationals, and they deserve to be treated better. They deserve better treatment. So let's go through this article. So the headline says, like I didn't exist, in quotes, the exploitation of West African migrant workers. I would have never believed I was falling into a trap, says Aminata, a young woman who left Guinea after receiving an offer of good employment abroad. Instead, she became a victim of abuse, slave-like conditions, and harassment. Her fate is shared by countless young women from West and East Africa. There are countless of migrant workers in the Middle East who go through so much torture from their employers, who go through a lot of poor treatments from their employers, and who cannot even say anything because they do not know where to go for help. And the governments of some of these Gulf nations who are supposed to protect people somehow are not doing their best. Somehow are not doing enough to protect migrant workers. Let's continue with the story. When there are few or no work opportunities, traveling abroad to find a job becomes an attractive option. However, especially in the case of low-skilled workers, illegal and unregulated recruitment practices can lead to exploitation and human trafficking. Across West and East Africa, young men and especially young women are attracted by enticing employment opportunities in Gulf countries. Though reliable figures do not exist, a UN agency says that there are over 3 million migrant domestic workers in Saudi Arabia alone. Wow, that's a huge number. 3 million migrant domestic workers in Saudi Arabia alone. That is huge. And Saudi is one of those countries I have advised people to avoid going there because of their policies towards migrant workers. Avoid going to Saudi Arabia for your own good. Avoid going there because there are cases of people who are treated very, very poorly. Now, some people might be fortunate enough to fall in the hands of a good employer who would treat them nicely, but most people are not that fortunate and they fall in very difficult situations. So I would advise, please, my fellow African brothers and sisters, avoid countries that have a record of treating migrant workers poorly. Avoid it altogether. In many cases, they find themselves trapped in slave like situations in jobs they didn't agree to and for which they are not adequately or not at all paid. Yeah, it's very common. In the context of a 9-10 May multi stakeholder workshop on illegal recruitment practices organized by the International Catholic Migration Commission, Aminata and Kadiatu are two 27-year-old women from Conakry, that's Guinea Conakry. Although they had both completed professional training and had worked in some on and off jobs, they had a hard time finding steady employment in their own country, which is why, when receiving offers of good jobs abroad, they immediately accepted. They would only have to take care of their passports. The intermediaries would provide flights and visas. This arrangement cost Aminata €500 and Kediatu 1,500. Pretty standard fee, they say. Kediatu signed a work contract as a domestic worker in Kuwait with a salary equivalent to €250 per month, while Aminata was supposed to work in a restaurant in Turkey. When Aminata got her visa, it was actually a photocopy of a Kuwaiti visa written in English and Arabic. I didn't understand, but didn't ask any question, she recalls. I didn't sign a contract. I left a week after meeting the man who offered the job to me. He was very nice. I would never have believed I was falling into a trap. So sad. Yeah, that's how they are. They always make it look like they are helping us or they are helping the migrant workers, whereby they are exploiting them. It's really sad, you know. You get to see stories like this all the time, and you feel so sad for those victims. If only African leaders did their job, if only the leaders in Africa did what they said they would do, wouldn't it be a lot more better? But let's continue. At Conakry Airport, the young women were escorted by police officers to our boarding gates where other women were waiting. The cops were obviously in cahoots with the traffickers. Kadiatu says her flight went from Conakry to Ivory Coast and then to Ethiopia and Kuwait. The group of women grew bigger along the route. Not everyone was bound for the same destination, however. From Addis Ababa, some went to Kuwait, others to Lebanon, others to Iraq, said Kadiatu. Aminata never made it to Turkey but landed in Kuwait City. Like Kadiatu, they were picked up by police officers and led to an area where representatives of employment agencies were waiting for them. We didn't know if they were legal or not. I began to feel afraid, especially when they took my passport, says Kadiatu. Upon seeing the situation on her arrival, Aminata managed to hide her phone. That's what saved me, she says. She was brought to her employer's house early in the morning and had to start working right away. She ended up taking care of the children and doing all the domestic work while being treated like I didn't exist. I had to work from 6 a.m. until 1 a.m. because Aminata, so sad, and they never paid me. I had to steal food. I even had to search the garbage to be able to eat. Nothing was planned for me. It irritated my boss to see me eating. I had to hide to eat. Although the family was well off and religious, Aminata had no choice or time to pray. Communication with her employers were very difficult. They spoke only Arabic and English. We communicated with our hands. Kadiatu was brought to her employment place, another wealthy Kuwaiti family's house, late at night, only to be woken up at 5 a.m. by a man screaming at her. Another girl from Ivory Coast who also worked there was very supportive. Kadiatu had to do all the domestic work for their big family while being unable to leave the house. I was a prisoner, she said. So you see all these cases happening all the time, and people or human rights groups have documented a lot of similar cases like this. And I would hope that more labor reforms be put in place, more migrant workers protection laws be put in place, because migrant workers are going through a lot in these Gulf nations. My brothers and sisters, please go online and do your research. Before you travel to any of the Middle Eastern countries, make sure you have done enough research. There are lots of cases like this one where people who thought they were going to work abroad and make money for themselves and their families found out that they have made a big mistake. Found out that it would have been better for them to stay in their home countries than making this journey abroad. So it is advisable for every single one of you guys out there who is planning to travel abroad as a whole, and particularly to the Middle East, to do your research. Do your research. Do not be a victim of these kind of things. Save yourself the pain and suffering. Do not go to a place where you will not be welcome. Do not go to a place that has a track record of treating people so poorly. Do not go to a place where 8 out of 10 people have a very negative view about the place. Do not go to a place because someone told you the place was good or the place is better than your home country. Do not go to a place because you think that your country is the worst place for you to ever be in and you just want to go anywhere. Always think things through before making a decision. So my brothers and sisters in Africa or from Africa, have you ever heard of a similar case like the one of these women from Guinea-Conakry? And if yes, please share that with us in the comment section below, because we love to hear what you have to say. And secondly, do you think that African leaders should do more to protect migrant workers? Share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below, because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. Thank you very much for watching this video. And like always, see you in the next one.